Hey, thank you for coming to my show. I think you'll hear something today that makes you click that like button, share with your people, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Let's stay connected. Tell me what you think in the comments. Thank you for joining us here at Our Unseen Roots. And today I'm with Miss Colette Allen. How are you, Miss Colette?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Great,
Hope
great.
you're well as well.
Yes, yes. So, how I like to start my podcast is who are you?
Who am I? Well, I was born Colette Hill in Evanston, Illinois in 1949 to Avery and Eleanor Hill, who were also native Evanstonians. Grew up here, went to Noyes Elementary, went to Dewey Elementary, went to Skiles, went to Evanston Township, and then moved on to college and graduate school. Is that good enough?
That's good enough.
I'm a mom. I have two adult sons. Um, I've lived pretty much all over the U.S. I've lived in Nashville, Tennessee, Washington, D.C., San Diego, California, Atlanta, and then I decided it was time to come home. So
Yeah.
I brought my mom back from Atlanta and we settled here again in 2006.
See, well traveled, well traveled. You mentioned noise. Now, do you have an opinion about the Fifth Ward school that is going to be happening in the next couple of years?
Well, I think it's a school in the neighborhood is needed, long overdue. I think some of the problems we're seeing now with our children is that there isn't a community school. However, that community has changed. So I was a big supporter the first time it came to a referendum here in Evanston. I was a big supporter. I'm still a supporter. But I think it's going to be different than it was when we had foster school.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And you said you went to noise school. Now, and no one is familiar with Evanston. Evanston or Noise is in the north end of Evanston, more affluent section of Evanston. How was it different when you attended Noise school than you see it today?
Okay, so Noise, I lived on Garnett Place. So that was our neighborhood school.
Hmm.
I have to say that as a young child, I experienced racism, blatant racism. There weren't many of us at Noise. And there were some very uncomfortable situations. I remember being on the playground and kids, and these were kids we knew from the neighborhood, start calling us the N-word. And we reported it to the teacher. And her explanation was that God put everybody in the oven. And, oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm going to turn it off.
Oh, okay, no worries. I didn't even hear it.
Oh, okay. And some of us, he left in the oven too long.
Wow.
And when I told my parents, I don't know if you know much about Avery Hill,
Oh, yeah,
but he
you
was
heard me
not
cry.
happy. And
No, he
he
was
went
not.
up to the school and he gave her a piece of his mind.
Yeah.
But I was only there for kindergarten, first grade, and then left. Maybe kindergarten first and second, and then went to Dewey. And Dewey was a totally different experience.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
Very different. And
Ironically,
some of the kids that I went to school with, white and black, we are still close today.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting because I had Miss Dorothy Head on, and she said, "Well, there's nothing special about me. I don't know why you want me on your podcast." And
Oh,
the reason I thought she was special and interesting was because she got together kids from different walks of life, different colors, and had them believe they are one. And in today's time, that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
hard. And so I
Well,
want
you
to,
can imagine what it was like in 1954.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. What unique perspective do you bring to your work due to your identity as a Black woman?
I think living all over the country in different communities and having to adjust to, how do I put this? Adjust to how we are perceived in different communities. My first husband, when we were in DC, he said, well, we're in Chocolate City. So it's very different experience, very, very different experience compared to a San Diego, where we were a very small minority.
Mm-hmm.
But what it did, it gave me the opportunity to gain perspective on life, because Evanston is a unique community, as is Washington, D.C. or San Diego, but Evanston is unique. And I think it really has prepared me to do a lot of different things in my life and have a lot of different jobs, very interesting jobs, that I wouldn't have gotten it if I had just stayed here.
Yeah, yeah. What are some critical needs you see within the Black community that women are uniquely positioned to address?
That's an interesting question. You know, I was listening to a young man this morning on Tamara Hall's show. He and his wife do this podcast. But what he talked about was the fact that Black women have never been traditional wives and mothers. We've always worked. We've always been in the workplace. So we know how to maneuver and how to juggle, and now how to have a lot of hats in the air and get things done, because we had to. I think we are natural caretakers, but at the same time, we're strong. And I think that we can convey and give that strength to our children who really need it now, who really need it now.
It's very true. It's very true. Um,
I'm trying to turn off the sound from again.
we can't hear it though, or I can't hear it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
What are some of the innovative projects or initiatives led by Black women that inspire you?
Hmm. Wow. Inspire me. Projects by Black women. Oh, I'm blanking on this one. That's a tough one. I think it does make me proud to see Black female ministers in the church. Growing up, that did not happen. That inspires me. I think they have a unique voice. I just thought of somebody and then I blanked again. Blank. I do see, I know, recently seeing Black women get their due in sports, professional sports and collegiate sports. That inspires me. Dawn Staley really inspires me. And then seeing Black women I can't name them, but seeing them in leadership roles with professional teams, and not just WNBA, but NBA and NFL. That inspires me. And I really like this whole the social media and Black women having podcasts and giving voice to what we do and how we do. That inspires me as well.
Yeah, it's very important. It's very important. It's interesting as you gravitate more to people see the people that you see doing things that are interesting to you, and your people doing things that you see interesting to you. And I don't think a lot of people grasp that notion, at least outside of one's culture. I know when I was doing some theater work, it was interesting to see white people always come to the theater, but then when you saw your people come, it gave you a little bit more energy to do that show because you want them to receive the story that you're telling about them. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I was a theater major.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't tell that part.
You sure didn't. You sure didn't. Did
Well,
you do
in fact, I was very active at ETHS in the theater department, in theater and speech. And in 1967, I won the speech state contest. I came in first for interpretive reading. Oh, and that was many, many years ago, which is why I probably forgot. And I pursued in graduate and undergraduate school. I went to Yale Drama School for a year. Okay. The problem was, and I'll never, well, it didn't happen just once. And I hope this didn't happen to you because you're younger than me. Mm-hmm. Being told, well, you can't play this role because it wouldn't be realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens. It happens. It doesn't happen as blatantly, but it happens in the audition process when they do the character breakdown, and you'll go in there for a character that you're not supposed to be going in there for because it doesn't say that in the character breakdown, but it doesn't say that you can't go in there for that character as well. And as soon as you walk in for that character, you see the faces and you're like, yeah, okay, well, watch this.
Yeah. So I left Yale Drama School because I said, what is the point of paying this money?
Yeah.
To a school that sees me only as maids and prostitutes. And I said that to them, but
Of course, they wouldn't see it as anything else.
It was very hurtful. Sometimes, I want to get back into it, but it's a craft. You have to work at it and do it all the time. And so I've been away from it for a very long time.
Yeah, I've been away since the pandemic, but I always find myself doing a monologue or two in the backyard. It helps.
Yeah.
As a Black,
I don't even do that. I try to sing a little bit, but that didn't I don't do too. I never did well with that.
That's not my forte. In fact, when I went because I attended the neighborhood playhouse, and the first day of music, I raised my hand. I told the music teacher, I said, hey man, I'm being totally honest with you. First day of class, if you can get me to sing, you are worth your weight in gold. And he said, okay, well, thanks for the warning.
I could muddle through maybe a song or two in a musical, but that was not my strength.
Yeah.
Definitely not my strength.
As a Black woman, what is your greatest superpower?
Strength. Strength to get through. There are many, many, many days that, especially having lost my mom and my husband within 2 years, there are many days that, I can't or don't want to get up and do, but you get up and you do because you have to.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that my mom gave to me and my dad, but my mom particularly, because she was amazing, just amazing. So I try to be like her and stay strong and keep going.
Yeah. How can we better amplify and support the voices of Black women leaders and change makers?
give them a break. I think sometimes we are so critical of one another. And we want to look for the shortcomings and not their strengths and their abilities. You don't have to be a fan of them, but give them support. I think about Kamala. I hear, rumblings about Kamala Harris. And I said, this woman has achieved a lot. We're going to put a magnifying glass. Well, she did this and she's vice president of the United States. That's huge. And show her some respect and give her a break.
It's interesting because I remember like a buddy of mine when she was elected, he went in about how she shouldn't be the vice president and what she did as a prosecuting attorney. Exactly. And I said to him, I said, well, here's the biggest thing that people don't realize. If you're not standing in front of her, you're doing something right. If you're standing in front of her, you're doing something wrong. And she has every right to prosecute.
It's her job.
It's her job, exactly. If you don't want her to give you her sentence, don't get in front of her. Right. It's that simple. And I'm so with you. It's like we've got a Black woman that's the vice president of the United States, first to ever do it. And what can we do? We can support her, because there may come a time when we're actually going to need and have to support her.
And and it's not just Black men that criticize. It's Black women. Stacey Abrams, look at her, powerful one. She should be president of the United States.
Yeah.
But there's still she's still a woman.
Yeah. My wife always tells me that her father, when she was young, said, Tracy, you got 2 strikes against you. 1, you're a woman. 2, you're a Black woman. And it's something that she never forgot. And it's something that as she, told me it, I start to notice it and see it. It's one of the inspirations of this podcast because Black women don't get their flowers. Mm-hmm. Even when they pass away, people refuse to give them their flowers because they say, oh, well, she doesn't deserve it because of this, this, and this. But you're forgetting what the good that the person did, right. Not just what you deemed not good, but, things that changed everything.
I was watching, I can't remember what it was. Oh, I know. There was a PBS show about the Niagara movement. Mm-hmm. With W.E.B. Du Bois and some other people. There was another gentleman they mentioned a lot in the documentary. And he was just a plain old sexist. Mm-hmm. They did not want women involved in the leadership of the movement. And Du Bois started pushing back on this gentleman. But I was like, we can't ever move forward if we aren't inclusive ourselves.
Yeah.
And have these designated roles. And one of the women, actually, they went to court for a case. I want to say it was in Virginia or DC, some in that area. And she, long before Rosa Parks, she got on a train and sat where she wasn't supposed to sit.
Yeah.
And they took it, that was one of their first cases. But you know how much she won in her suit? A penny.
Oh, wow.
And she eventually committed suicide because not only were white people on her case.
Yeah.
So she felt like she wasn't getting the respect and recognition from her own people.
Yeah, right.
So if you ever get a chance to see it, it's called the Niagara Movement, and it's on PBS. It's very good, very good.
I'm gonna look that up. I'm sure I can find it. What resources do you wish were readily available to Black women who want to make a difference?
I think what I saw when I was at Family Focus was the need for childcare.
Mhm.
There are a lot of women out here struggling on their own, and they want to do, but they don't have the childcare. I think education programs that take that into the consideration, childcare, mental health support, just kind of wrapping yourselves, I mean, the institution wrapping itself around that female to support her so that she can move on. So a lot of hungry families.
Yeah.
And housing, affordable housing.
Yeah, that's a huge one. That's a huge one. Yeah. Yeah, Councilman Bobby Burns is working on that for the Fifth Ward, and he's doing some great things, and it's
It's tough.
beautiful to see. Yeah, exactly.
It's
Exactly.
tough. And now that I've moved and I'm in the senior facility downtown Evanston, and the number of homeless,
Yeah.
it's really, really disturbing. It
Yeah.
really, really is. And there are a lot of men. There are more men that I see,
Hmm.
but there are too many women and children out here too.
I totally agree. I totally agree. How can Black men in the community be better allies and resources, or better allies and partners, excuse me, to the women nourishing the Black community?
Give us, like I said earlier, when I talked about Kamala, support and grace, and you know, being comfortable with us leading
Mhm.
at times. Sometimes we should take the lead,
Yeah.
and it's okay because we let you lead. It's a partnership. It's not a one-upmanship. And that's what I would like to see. And I think it's changed. It's changed. The younger generations, it's really changed. It really has.
Yeah.
I've seen the difference. And I have two sons. And I see them with their partners. And they've learned something from their mom.
Well, mom was a great teacher.
They've learned something. But it's like I said, it's a partnership.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's these traditional roles, they just have to, and especially for us,
Yeah.
because we've not been able to fulfill these traditional roles because racism doesn't allow us to do that.
Yeah. And sexism is as well, because a lot of men's egos won't allow for them to take a step back and let their wife, lead the ship per se, because their opportunities are better, and I kind of smirked and laughed when you mentioned that, because I'm in that situation. I get up, I take my son to school, my wife's still sleeping, she's got meetings, so she can do her thing, but she doesn't have to worry about the other things, the laundry, the cleaning I'm still fighting with, but but
As my first husband used to say, we have a different level of cleanliness.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but to your point, we have to support our women, and it doesn't always come in a financial sense. It can, but sometimes it's more important than it comes from whatever she needs.
And I say this on both sides. We need to listen to each other.
Yes.
Like you have a hard day, but I have hard days too.
Yeah.
And so, I want to listen to you, but you need to listen to me as well.
Yeah, and I think that's
how my day went.
Yeah, and that's the most important part. That's the most important part. How can we assure that the work you do will be slow, deep, and irreversible?
Mhm. Again, it's acknowledgement.
Mhm.
And we don't record. This is beautiful what you were doing, but we got to put it down.
Yeah.
We have to preserve it and then share it. Some of the, I think about like Dino Robinson with Shorefront and now Laura Reese and people like that trying to, and I talked to my friends and I said, well, why don't you give them this paperwork or these pictures? Oh, no. But you got to share it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise people won't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it'll end up in somebody's basement, or like when Dino was looking for cotillion dresses. Mine got ruined in a flood in my parents' basement.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen to it. And wouldn't it be better to give it to an institution that can preserve it and share it? We shouldn't depend on their institutions to tell our story.
Yeah, so true. So true. I remember when I first met you and asked you to be a guest on my show. We were downtown Evanston at it's kind of downtown Evanston at the museum. And then I saw you a couple weeks later at the library when Dino was talking about the cotillions. Do you think we need or could use cotillion in today's time?
I'm going to be real honest. No. I think the concept of presenting these young people to society, no. Mm-hmm. But do we need mentorship, programs that help our young people? I mean, there were a lot of things. Yes, there were people that you went to school with and grew up with, but we learned how to work together, to come up. It's just like theater, you're in a play, you have your role, and everybody comes together and puts on this performance. Those skills are needed.
Yeah.
But presenting to society, I don't think that. But I think the mentorship and working on a project and getting something done and then presenting it to the community. Why not do some type of environmental project? Bring in the science, the STEM stuff. And at the same time, it's a project that helps the community and the young people are learning skills. And then those young people present it to the community and actually get something done. And you have, engineers and people who know how to do the stuff come in and work with the young people. That's the kind of thing that I like to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the cotillion, it was good in a lot of ways. It shared, you shared, it was our culture. But it was expensive, and there were a lot of families who could not afford to participate. And I don't, that part, I don't like the exclusivity part. I don't like it. I want it to be inclusive and let for everybody to be involved.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I enjoyed the experience to hear what you had to say and the other women who were all there as well. I wish I could have heard some of the men, but I felt like hearing the women and what it meant and how it felt. And I feel it was important. I feel
it was. And for the times.
Yeah.
Times. It's a different time. Because you heard me say, because my cousin was the coordinator of it.
Right.
To do that and bourgeois stuff. I don't need to be introduced to society. Times have changed. Yeah. Young people have changed. And so we need to find the thing that they're interested in and support that. But I do think that there were skills and qualities that we learned. Mm-hmm. It was wonderful to have these 12 Black men support these young ladies. That was awesome. But we need to find a different way, and I'd like to see males included as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But see, I have boys, so
Yeah.
and my oldest son, by the way, was in a botillion,
Oh, interesting.
and this was in San Diego, and they presented the young Black men a little different
Hmm.
because they talked about their scholarship
Mm.
and what schools they were going to and their activities in high school,
Yeah.
and more than just athletics. He hated it, every second of it. The only thing he said was good was that he met some cute girls. That was his measuring stick for everything. We go to a college campus. Oh, they don't have cute girls here. But they had a botillion, and they don't do it anymore. You know the Reese family, right?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Well, Johnny Mae Reese, she and her husband were living in San Diego at the time. And that's how my son got involved, because I was in
Okay.
touch. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it was the Lynx that put it on.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Mhm.
It's it's so interesting because I'm an assistant coach at FAM, and I've been doing it now, man, I'm embarrassed to say almost 20 years,
Mhm.
because it feels like I started yesterday.
Of course.
So I know how my father-in-law feels, but it almost feels like that's a modern day type of thing, because we get to see Black men, Black young boys and white young boys, Black young girls and white young girls playing together and learning together. But
Mhm.
I totally understand what you mean, because I know I'm going to start a Black Dads podcast. And my first guest that signed up actually runs the YOU program, and he's big on STEM. So he's trying to get that
Now,
implemented.
who's that? I've lost track of who's there now.
Henry Wilkins.
Oh, Henry, he got
Yeah.
the job at YOU?
Yes, yes, yes. So
Interesting.
he's
Interesting. I did not know that. I know Henry.
board. Yeah, I think he's on the board, if I'm not mistaken. But he's trying to implement those same
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's
programs.
been involved with the STEM stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
See, I worked at the Museum of Science and Industry,
Okay.
and they have a huge STEM program. They start with the kids in middle school, and they come to the museum and they learn stuff, and they end up doing tours with people, all kinds of stuff. And they focus on Black and brown schools. And that's where I caught the bug, was
Okay.
when I was there. And then when I came to Family Focus, I said, we got to bring this stuff to
Yeah.
Evanston. And I met Kirby.
Mhm.
And so we started doing the STEM Fest, and then Henry got involved. The Lynx are involved with that too.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
Mhm,
Oh, that's
mhm.
beautiful.
But see, that's what I would like to see, is stuff like that, is, something that not only will benefit the kids, will also benefit the community.
Yeah.
Do you know Verzell James?
I do not well, but I do.
I've been trying to help him because he wants to plant or create greenhouses in the community. So instead of just having the gardens in the spring and summer and fall, this would be a year-round thing.
Now we should try and link them to Chef Q, because I just interviewed Chef Q. Her episode's running right now, actually, but she's running a garden right there next to that garden right next to Family Focus.
Right. Because she was working with a group. I can't think of their name right now, but they came to me wanting to use the garden because the garden had just gone to pot. And there was a woman who was volunteering to do it, and she got elderly and couldn't handle it anymore. And it was just wasted.
Yeah.
So we started working together, and Chef's done some great stuff with the kids. I'll never forget the one day, because they grew the tomatoes. And then she had them out there making bruschetta. I was like, what?
Yeah,
But the kids got a big kick out of it. And so, yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. Now, do you know that someone put up some garden beds right across from Fleetwood? Do you know who did that?
It's another group, but they're all kind of connect. Evanston Grows, and I wish I could think of the group that's Chef Q. That's awful that I can't remember.
Yeah.
But they're all connected because there's one across the street from the high school.
Yeah.
Now, there at one point there was one that they were doing on Church Street, Church and Pittner. But I
Yeah.
don't know what happened to that one.
I know that one was for Second Baptist. I think they're going to be back out, but I don't.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
sure. Yeah.
But no, he actually wants to do these greenhouses.
That's a brilliant idea.
And so what his idea was to have the kids at the high school in that geometry class that work on houses and stuff, but I couldn't get them together. But that would be a great project for high school, middle schools and high school kids, because he makes his own hot sauce.
Oh, okay.
It's called all sauce.
All sauce. Okay.
But he needs to grow the peppers all year round.
Right.
And actually, at one point, he was, I don't know if he still is, but he was using the kitchen at Family Focus to make the sauces.
Yeah.
So he would love, you see, to me, that's a great project for the kids in the community to get hooked into. How do we build these greenhouses? How do we keep them going?
Yeah.
They can learn from Chef Q and from Verzel. They can learn, entrepreneurship, healthy eating, all that stuff.
So true. So true. How do you, what are your hopes and dreams for the Black community?
Gosh. I want to see our folks thrive. And I want to see those who are thriving reach back and help those that aren't.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about our kids getting shot and killed by each other or by the police anymore. And I don't want to hear about the gap in schools anymore.
How do you think
it angers me.
Yeah.
That our kids are not thriving in the schools.
How do you think we can change that? How do you think we can change that gap?
Well, we need more of your mother-in-law in the schools.
Yeah.
People who care and care about our children and show them that they care and make sure that they do well. Yeah. I just think that that's what it is. I just think that a lot of times, because a child is a problem, they either ignore it and don't deal with it, or shuffle them off to a special ed or whatever, label them, and they become a problem. And the same children back in my day, they were there.
Yeah.
But I have to say that a lot, the teachers were different. I really do believe that. I think that they cared. George Dodson and I were talking one day about, I don't know if you've heard the name Vera Brownlee. Yeah. She was a teacher at Foster School, and then she taught me at Skiles. And he said She was not going to let you leave Foster School not being able to read and write and do your math.
Yep.
That was a reflection on her. And she exposed me to so many things. And she didn't have to do that. She got me in, she had me playing Phyllis Wheatley at the centennial of the Emancipation at McCormick Place.
Mm.
She saw kids who had talents and she fostered that talent. But that was for everybody. She treated everybody the same. She cared and she loved. And that's what we need. And your Kitty is the same. Your Helen is the same way.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Kids know when teachers care.
Mm-hmm.
They know. One of the best stories that I've ever heard about my mother-in-law was by my father-in-law, who was also a police officer. He was a sergeant at the time, and he got a call about this woman who the other police officers couldn't handle, and they said, "Sarge, can you just come over and help us?" And as soon as he laid eyes on the girl, he knew her immediately. And he said, "Well, I want to tell my wife about this because this doesn't seem like you. Oh, F your wife. I don't give a damn who your wife is." Da, 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 da. Just all kinds of curse words coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Okay, I will tell Mrs. Fultz what you said." And it was like an eclipse happened. She, "No, please don't, please, I'll be good. I won't, please don't tell her." And I thought, wow, that's the power of a good teacher. The name alone makes you change your whole attitude, and you're right. We need those today more than ever.
And I'm not saying that they have to be all Black teachers or all Latino teachers.
Yeah.
I have white teachers who really cared.
Yeah.
But they cared and they showed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's vitally important, especially today.
Mm-hmm.
Especially today.
Mm-hmm.
How do you celebrate your own achievements and contributions as a Black woman making a difference?
Very quietly. It's not me. Because I had the same reaction. Why does he want to interview me?
Yeah.
So no, I'm not one. One of my favorite jobs is I was working for the Olympic Training Center. And I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but my boss was an Olympian, Benita Fitzgerald.
Oh, I have heard of her.
Yeah.
I have heard of her.
Hurdler, gold medalist. And my favorite role was walking in a situation with her or an event with her and telling her, okay, that's so-and-so over there. This is what you need to say to them. Being in the background, that's me.
Yeah.
And helping someone achieve their goals.
Yeah.
But I'm not one. You'll never see me on Facebook videotaping myself doing something. That's just not me.
Yeah.
And I don't have problems with people doing that, but it's just not me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I believe I remember seeing you at. Are you familiar with Congo Square Theater Company? Correct.
Yeah.
I believe I saw you at a play they might have done or something like that. You've gone to their productions.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen?
Not in a long time though.
Yeah, it's been a few years, but have you seen Hobo King?
No.
Okay. Well, I saw you in a theater setting, and I remembered because I got a thing for faces, but names I may forget real quick. And then I saw you again in Evanston, and I thought, okay. And then I saw you again at another function. I thought that woman carries a big stick but says nothing, because the people you were interacting with and how they were interacting with you. And I thought, yeah, I need to interview her. And it turns out that we could talk for 4 or 5 hours easily, because there's a lot of information that you have. People that are going to watch this, some of them will know, but I know how much information you know.
Oh, thank you.
So it was I had to interview you.
Well, thank you. And I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, and then especially during tax season, and I'm not accountant, but I was just getting my stuff together to go to the accountant, and I said, "Oh Lord, I have to cancel this because I can't function."
Nothing wrong with
I
that.
did not know you were a theater person. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I love theater. Theater is I love film too, but theater for me is it's the pinnacle of it. You work a month and you flush that character out. You flush out the story. The curtain goes up and it's live and direct. There's no more cut. There's no more hold on, let's stop. There's no more, you've got to work through it. And especially with an ensemble, you pick each other up and you carry each other. I love that. I love
You'll
that.
love this story. You knew Aunt Ernest Perry, right?
Very well, yes.
Okay, so in high school, do you know the name Ann Flagg?
I do know the name Ann Flagg.
Okay, Black woman, director, playwright. She had a group of us, a little Black theater ensemble. So it was me and Ernest, another Stuart Perry, and Leslie Grant, and we were doing one of her plays. And we're on stage, things are clicking, and we're saying our lines and stuff. And I don't know if it was Stuart or Leslie, but Leslie was real tall. He was like 6'2", 6'3". And in high school, that was tall.
Yeah.
And some kind of way he slipped. And to try to stay in character, well, we lost it. We lost it. Anne was like grimacing backstage, but and no one starts giggling. And then the whole group, we just all broke. We just broke it. We just couldn't hold it.
Yeah.
But then you stop and you pull it together and move forward. But every time I saw Ernest, we would share that story together. And he's the only one that just really kind of took off and pursued it. The rest of us just kind of.
I loved Ernest because he was from my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he was a great actor and well respected throughout the Chicago acting community and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
But he was always Ernest.
That's right.
It was such a beautiful thing, and
every time I went to see him, he gave me the nickname, and well, this is on tape, but anyway. Colette. Everybody's calling me Colette. And one day I'm walking down the hall at ETHS and I hear, Zalette. That was Ernest. And it stuck with me.
Yeah.
All through high school. Let. George Dotson still calls me Let.
Man, that's my guy, George Dotson. That's my guy. My mom used to play softball. And so that's how I met my wife and my mother-in-law and father-in-law. I don't know, I think I was about 4 and she was 3 or something like that. And George was always around. So was
I tell people he's like my brother. He's an only child. I'm the only child. I lived on Oberlin Court and he lived on Emerson. And when I left, I used to tell him, go check on my folks. George would be right there. He would be right there. Yeah. Good people.
He and I don't know if his first name was Chris, but his son's name was Chris Stringer. He and Stringer. Do you remember Stringer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I met them all at the same time. And,
okay.
It's a great time. Who are your role models?
My mom and my Aunt Fanny. And they were opposite. My mom was the youngest of the family, and my Aunt Fanny was the oldest. I know you know Doria Johnson. My Aunt Fanny was Doria's grandmother.
Okay.
And she had a catering business here in Evanston. But everything was larger than life. The cigarette holder, the whole bit. She was just, and she never called me Colette. Because she said that was a horse's name. So she called me Marcia. Who knew? But that's how eccentric she was. So she was on this spectrum, and then there was my mother, the salt of the earth, the down to earth, but only 5 feet, maybe 4'11",
Yeah.
get right up in your face, but my biggest supporter.
Yeah.
And then, and I don't know why this name came to me so quickly, Lorraine Morton.
Mm. Yeah.
And I can't pinpoint it, but God, she became mayor of Evanston.
Yeah.
So I would have to say those three women for me.
Yeah.
And you were talking about George always being this, Ernest being always the same. That's the way Lorraine was for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because when I think of Evanston, I think of three women, the mothers of Evanston right off the bat are Lorraine Horton, Mrs. Holmes, and Mrs. Davis. God bless her soul. She was my fourth grade teacher at Oakton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it. You're right. These women who care, teachers who care, and we need to replace these legends. We need
Yep,
to
we
replace these
do.
legends. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we do.
What does liberation look like for Black women?
No, I started to say something bad. Um, a new Supreme Court. Not telling us what to do, and especially with our bodies. And that's just being who we are. And people letting us do, you see what happens when we're given the opportunity. You see a Dawn Staley. You see a Kamala Harris. You see a Stacey Abrams. When we're given the opportunity, we shine. So let us shine. Let us shine. That's liberation for me.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, let's stay connected.